Recording in progress.
That concern encouraged me, of course, to talk with some of my professors, obviously, as well as my classmates, to get a sense of what might be possible. And we began to explore that, knowing that it would be stupid for us not to know where we were going to go once I had the degree in hand. And so we began to think about where we should go to look at possible jobs. Then we did some planning, and during holiday week break, we took a trip and visited several places to sort of introduce ourselves. I wrote to them ahead of time, snail mail in those days, which meant you had to plan way ahead. So we sent letters out to people. We thought about maybe going back overseas and trying to explore some options. There were some options in Saudi Arabia, but knowing what we knew then about Saudi Arabia, Ardith was far from keen about that kind of posting overseas. Because of the role of women in that society, she didn't want to be that constrained. And I'll confess, I didn't really have my heart in going to a place like that. We didn't find anything in Central or South America where we would have obviously felt a bit more comfortable. It seemed attractive at that point. We talked with some foundations and others who worked internationally to see what job opportunities there might be, and we just didn't find anything at that point that appealed to us. So then we did travel around, and eventually I heard about the University of Kentucky. They were famous at that point for their Department of Community Medicine, as they called it. The fellow in charge of it had made a name for himself across the US in bringing medical schools a little bit more into the public health world and getting community health integrated into medical school education. And that was a step that would have been fairly comfortable for me. So we went to Kentucky. We took the car and made several stops, but the one that turned out to be most important was Kentucky. And we had a routine, remember? When we went on job interviews like this, I, of course, would get all dressed up and I'd go meet people and have interviews and tours. And that would free Ardith up. She'd drop me off there, and then she'd take the car and she'd explore the town. So she'd go looking for the amenities, the shopping areas, the neighborhoods,
the museums,
the theater approach opportunities, in other words, the recreational opportunities and so on. And then we would get together at the end of the day and compare notes. In Kentucky, I was met by the new chair of this department, Dr.
Lexington.
In Lexington, yeah, Dr. Bud Benenson, and had a nice chat with him and met faculty members and did the usual tour and so on. And then Bud Benenson tried to convince me that I should come to Kentucky and become a preventive medicine resident. Said, if you're really interested in combining medicine and public health in some reasonable way, which is what I was thinking then a residency would give you time to do that. Well, we talked a little bit about what a residency would entail, me being back in whites, doing some clinical work again, and having a year of practice in public health with either public health department or some other community entity. And this did not sound attractive to me. I had sort of had it with whites and being on hospital wards, and I just didn't want to do that again.
Hold on just 1 second. We're going to reset.
Recording stopped.